This is a 1921 Chevy 490 touring car. I've been wanting to do a video on this for quite some time. It was originally sold at Clippinger Chevrolet in Covina back when they were in Los Angeles. The dealership no longer exists, but I do have a picture of the car in front of the dealership in 1921. It was also on display on their showroom floor for quite a number of years as a part of their display. So this is a 490 touring car, and basically they had a GM wanted, and Chevrolet wanted to make a Model T competitor, and so enter the 490. It has an electric starter, which for an early vehicle like this is pretty good. It has a stoplight, headlights, all standard. This particular car has been in my family since 1973. It was actually the first car that I ever worked on. And so it's a pretty interesting vehicle. Doesn't go very fast. It goes about 25-30 miles an hour, though the speedometer goes up to like 60. I wouldn't go 60 in this thing. Maybe downhill. Maybe that's what they meant. And yeah, so it goes 60 supposedly, but it really doesn't. This 490, like I said, was the answer to Ford's Model T. So there's a lot of things that are shared on it. Tire sizes. I can even swap out wheels on this with a Model T. So while 490 parts are not that easy to come by, you can get away with using Model T parts. A lot of Model T parts, all interchangeable. A lot of them are interchangeable. So I'm not too worried. You know, my grandfather and I got this running many years ago, and about a couple times a year I'll take it out and drive it. It does sport a rattle can paint job for now. My grandfather did that long ago. But this is the engine. There is no valve cover at all. And it's pretty cool. Maybe we'll start it up in just a minute and I'll show you what it looks like running. It's very loud, but that's okay. I have a horn, which is a lot of fun. I replaced the original horn, which I still have. It needs to be redone, but that horn there actually belonged to my other grandfather. So I spray painted and put it in. It's actually from a 1928 Chevy or something. So it kind of belongs in the car, but not really, but it kind of does. Some cool things, some cool facts about this is underneath the seat is the gas tank. So you're literally sitting on the gas tank. And underneath the floor is a battery. So you have the battery under there, and you have the gas under your feet. I do still have the convertible top, but I take it off because it kind of just flutters in the wind and serves not much purpose. And also it breaks down the visibility in the back. So I always usually ride with it off. But I do have the original one. Yeah, the car's not perfect. It needs some work, needs a paint job and interior repair. But one of the biggest problems with these cars is termites. Yes, folks, you get termites in a car. And as you can see there on the far door, I have some termite damage. So, yeah. I've been, through the years, I've been replacing the termite damaged parts with heavier wood like a cherry that termites don't like. So I've been in the process of replacing those. Basically, there's a metal outer skin, and then all the framing is wood, which is probably why many of these haven't survived. People always ask me, wow, it must be worth a lot of money. Actually, you can get a very nice museum quality one of these for about $9,000 or $10,000. So they are not worth a whole heck of a lot. You know, they're just, they're only worth so much, unfortunately, but they're pretty fun cars. One of the things that is important to know is that with these old guys is you have to actually oil the tops of the top of the engine right here. That's where they supplied you the oil can. And so you actually have to oil the top of the engine because the oil from down below doesn't seep up. So yeah, so that's kind of where that's at. It's a 6-volt system, so just your typical good old-fashioned 6-volt. I'll be eventually replacing some more of the wood. Need a gasket or two here and there. But mostly it drives pretty good. Like I said, it was sitting for quite some time, for about a year, and then I just took it out and drove it, so a lot of the gaskets seal up and things tighten up a little bit. So yeah, so sorry, I'm out on the road, so there's a little bit of noise, but anyway, what's cool about this car, and it has mechanical brakes, thankfully, which I haven't had to touch at all, and they work good, so I just leave it alone. In the owner's manual, there's instructions on how to adjust the brakes, even how to take apart the engine, do the gaskets. It was very common to have to do like the pan gasket and the cylinder gasket up above here, which it may need to be replaced one of these days soon. So it's pretty easy to do the work on this because the stuff just pops right off. Years ago, we had to figure out about the water pump, and there is no fuel pump on here, so it's all gravity fed. And so when you're parked, it actually leaks gasoline out of the bottom part of the carburetor. So it's a little Zenith carburetor. But like I said, there's not many of these around, which is pretty cool. So you're probably never going to see one at a car show. You don't see very many things older than the 60s usually anymore, but you know, you're not going to run into another one, you know, whereas you may run into a Model T, as they're fairly common. But you know, it has your good old-fashioned windshield. You can adjust it for to bring in air or whatnot. The door panels are pretty interesting. There's the handles here and a little pocket thing. I think these were actually originally supposed to be pockets, but they are not anymore. And then underneath the back seat is actually a trunk. It's a storage area. So you can pull that up and it's a storage area. And I have some stuff in there right now. You know, it obviously fits 4 people. Maybe in the old days 5. People are a little bigger now. So there's a starter pedal, the gas pedal, and of course your clutch, your brake, and a footrest. Up here is your throttle and your spark, so you have to adjust those when you're driving, and then of course your choke down by the speedometer. So there's a lot of action that you have to take when you're driving this car. It's not just hey, let me jump into it and drive it and it just goes. It's really incredible when you think about how much technology changed in like 15 years on cars, because they were making cars like this, and then they were making like the late 30s, early 40s cars, which were very solid construction and had, you know, hydraulic brakes and you know, closed bodied and all that kind of thing. So it's pretty extraordinary when you actually think about it. But what's also neat is on this car here, there goes a FedEx guy. On this car here, you have your amps, your oil gauge, and your speedometer and odometer and trip odometer. This actually is for an optional dash light, which once I find one that fits, I'll probably install it. So it's, you know, so it's a pretty cool thing. Sorry, the video got cut off a little bit. But, you know, it has its share of battle scars through the years, some scratches and things, mostly from the garage, being in the garage. Like I said, my grandfather gave it a very good rattle can paint job years ago. Eventually, I'll take it out and have the fender repaired, and there's a fender, you know, some dents here and there, and get a paint job. Probably just a single stage would be fine because it's in the garage all the time. The tires are clencher tires. These you have to keep at about 70 psi. Otherwise, they fly right off of the wheel, which is something that I've had to deal with before, unfortunately. Back in the back here, I had this tire, actually, the old tire that was here, fall apart, and it fell right off the rim, and because it wasn't right up to 70 psi. And so with this year of car, you have to make sure that you are really paying close attention to having the tires filled up and all that kind of thing. This is a car that you have to be very active with, and not just a passive person. Oh, hey, it's a cool car, let me go turn it on. There's a process, is the best way of saying it. Like I said, it has a headlights, which is pretty cool for the era. Large bulbed, nice headlights. Not very effective, but they're there. All this is open at the top. Of course, you don't see that with cars of today. And I replaced the exhaust about 15 years ago. It fell right off. I ordered one through a book and just put it right on. Oddly enough, they had clamps actually originally holding it together up near the top in the intake area. And like I said, we had to do the water pump at one point and replace all the bolts because the bolts broke right off. So through the years, some things have had to be done. Ready to record. These cars, though, you can't let them sit in idle for very long. Otherwise, they do like to hiss and sputter, and as far as the coolant goes. So you have to make sure that you really just like turn it on and run it and drive it. They rely on the air a lot to cool them off. Whereas cars from the 40s, you can let them sit for a while as long as your cooling system's in good shape, and let them idle for a long time. But this year of car, you simply cannot do that with. So I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and start this up. Hopefully she'll start right up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this up. Here we go. It starts actually better than a lot of newer cars. I thought I'd best be inside because the parking brake is a little funny, and obviously you have to have it in neutral to go ahead and get it started. So here's the horn, which is pretty cool. And let's go ahead and take a look at the engine doing its thing. So as you can hear, the engine's doing its thing, so the car is on. This can kind of give you an idea of the sound of the exhaust. Folks, we're off. So I thought I'd get a short video of me driving it. like I said, you can only go about 20 some odd. It also has straight gears for the transmission, so you're stuck basically guessing when you should shift the car. And you have to rev it up sometimes so you can keep it moving. Sorry about the shaky video. It takes a lot to have one hand on the wheel and one hand on the shifter and one hand on the camera. And the steering is pretty stiff for, of course, probably when it was driven every day it wasn't as stiff, but anyway, this is the 1921 Chevy 490 touring car. And pretty cool. It was, like I said, it was Chevrolet's answer to the Model T. And 100 years later, it's still with us. And so with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And please like and subscribe to my videos. And hope you enjoyed it. The 1921 Chevy touring car, 490. Have a wonderful day.